symbolized or denominated as risk in finance. So you can see the risk associated with the small company stock is far greater than the risk associated with US Treasury bills. So you can see that the risk in the US Treasury bills is 3.2%, whereas the average return is also relatively very low, that is 3.9%. So the risk and return is associated with each other in direct proportional manner. That if the risk is going to increase from 3.9 to 5. The return is going to increase from 3.9 to 5.7 and 17.3. Subsequently, the risk associated will also increase from 3.2 to 20.2 and 33.2. Are you getting my point? Okay. Now, we will further dig down. I want you to take a picture of this slide. That is investment alternatives. So here we are talking about different states of the economy. I want your complete attention if you want to learn and earn something from this class. After understanding this risk and return, you can directly start to make your portfolio and invest in the equity market or in the bond market. I mean it. अगर आप इसके सारे हिचेस को समझ गए तो आप कल से जो है स्टॉक मार्केट में इन्वेस्टमेंट करना शुरू कर दें। सही है? तो अगर आपके ज़हन के किसी गोशे में या आपके लाशऊर में या आपके तहत शऊर में ये बात है कि जो कुछ भी क्लास में पढ़ाया जाता है सब आउटडेटेड है, ऑब्सोलीट है, सिर्फ बुकिश है, प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ से इसका कोई लेना देना नहीं है, तो बिलीव मी आप उस एंगल से पढ़ ही नहीं रहे। सही है? और जैसी कौम वैसे हुक्मरान, कुरान का फैसला है, जैसे स्टूडेंट वैसे टीचर्स। सही है? जब हमें आगे से स्टूडेंट गार्बेज मिलता है तो फिर हम भी फिर गार्बेज ही करते हैं। रीजन ये है कि जब हमें मालूम है कि हमारे बोलने का या हमारे समझाने को फायदा ही नहीं है और स्टूडेंट सिर्फ जीपीए के लिए आ रहा है या सिर्फ रसीद देने के लिए आ रहा है जो कोर्सेज उसने पढ़े हैं उसकी, तो हम भी अपनी इस क्वालिटी को वैसे ही डिटोरिएट कर देते हैं। लेकिन अगर कुछ सीखना चाह रहे हैं तो मैं तैयार हूं आपको सिखाने के लिए, आप सीखने वाले बने। सो हम एक ऐसे सिनेरियो को डिस्कस कर रहे हैं इन विच वी आर टेकिंग possible states of the economy, that is there could be a recession in the economy could perform below average or above average, or economy can perform in a very flourish manner and it could be a boom. So these are 5 different states of the economy, right? Then on the basis of the probability, we have empirical or priori probability, that on the basis of that probability we can predict that what would be the chances of boom in Pakistan next year, or what would be the chances that Pakistan will perform below average or above average or average, or Pakistan will go to recession. And I have normally distributed the probability deliberately in order to make this thing relatively simple. So if you look at the probability distribution in this table, you will notice that it is 10% probability of recession and 10% probability of boom. 20% chances of below average and 20% chances of above average, and 40% chances of average. So that means your probability distribution will automatically be in a normal fashion. It is not positively skewed or it is not negatively skewed, and it is normally distributed, right? And here we have 5 different investment alternatives that I have mentioned here. One is T-bills, treasury bills, and usually the treasury bills are considered the risk-free investment in quantifiable manner. I need you to focus and give attention to each and every word I am speaking out. Reason because each word has its own logical reasoning. So T-bills or treasury bills are considered to be quantifiable risk-free investment. Why I have added the word quantifiable? The reason is because you can see that whether it is recession or it is boom or below average or average, regardless of whatever the state of the economy, the T-bill is constantly renting you out 8% return or entitling you 8% return. So that means whatever the state of the economy, the fluctuation in the returns of the T-bill is constant. There is no fluctuation. And when there is no fluctuation, and when we are going to look at under the lexical meaning of the risk, so what was risk? Fluctuation, variation. So there is no variation. It is constantly entitling you 8% return, whatever the situation or whatever the state of the economy. So that means overall you can consider T-bill as risk-free investment. But still there is some risk involved, and the risk that is involved in T-bill is the inflation. That say for example, if I am offering you 8,000 rupees over the investment of 100,000 in T-bills, fine. And I am assuring you that you will constantly be entitled 8% return, whatever the state of the economy. आंधी आए, तूफान आए, इंडिया पाकिस्तान पर हमला कर दे, पाकिस्तान कोलैप्स कर जाए, तहरीक अदम एतमाद जो है वो कामयाब हो जाए या नाकाम हो जाए, you will be entitled 8% return, whatever the consequences are. That means I am offering you a risk-free investment. But what if the rate of inflation next year or inflationary surge next year is 12%? So that means you are losing 4% of your money, because the thing which I am offering you is 8,000 over the investment of 100,000. But when I return you 1,08,000 after 1 year, the value of 1,08,000 will be lesser than 1,12,000, because now the things are becoming more expensive with respect to the time value of money, with respect to the inflation, and now those goods and services now you can buy at a price of 112,000. What you can buy at the rate of 100,000. So though you have compensated 8,000 out of 12,000 deterioration or diminishing in your amount, but still you are at a loss of 4%. So still the risk is involved. That means all those returns which I am offering you are nominal rates or nominal returns, not the real returns. Now what is the difference between nominal returns and real returns? Nominal in which the inflation has not been adjusted. And when the inflation has been adjusted, that is called real. Are you getting my point? And this nominal and real term you can put before any other terminology. Nominal wage, real wage. Nominal GDP, nominal economic growth, real economic growth. Any. Nominal interest rate, real interest rate. What is that basically? Currently you are facing difficulty in continuing your living expenses, and whatever the salary you are getting is say 100,000, right? But there is a financial stress and financial crunch in fulfilling your basic necessities. Now I have increased your salary by 20,000. Now you will be happy. This is called money illusion. That you will be happy that, oh great, now my life will be better off by 20,000. Currently I am having 100,000 and I am, hand to mouth. So if my boss is increasing or giving me an increment of 20,000 and now my salary is 120,000, so my life will be better off by 20,000. But actually it will not. Right? Now what you have planned कि भाई ये 1 लाख रुपए से जो है मैं अपने घर के खर्चों को जैसे तैसे करके पूरा कर देता था, और ये जो 20,000 रुपए जो तनख्वाह बढ़ा दी गई है, इस 20,000 रुपए के नतीजे में मेरी लाइफ जो है वो बेहतर हो जाएगी. सही है? सो आपने ये प्लान कर लिया कि भाई ये घर जाऊंगा, आज तनख्वाह मिली है, घर जाऊंगा और इस घर से मतलब इम्तियाज से जो भी मैं अपनी रोजमर्रा की अशियाए खुर्दोनोश खरीदता हूँ पूरे महीने की, वो खरीदूंगा 1 लाख रुपए की. सही है। और बाकी जो 20,000 बचेंगे उससे मैं अपनी वाइफ को डाइन आउट करने के लिए ले जाऊंगा, क्योंकि मेरी लाइफ आज से 20,000 रुपए से बेहतर हो गई। आप इम्तियाज गए, आपने वही अपना पूरा बास्केट को फिल किया, ट्रॉली फिल की, उसमें स्कूल की फीस भी ले लें, उसके अंदर आप गाड़ी का पेट्रोल भी ले लें, उसके अंदर ग्रॉसरी भी ले लें, सही है। और जब आप टिल पे गए तो टिल पर जो आपके हाथ में जो बिल पकड़ाया गया वो 1,25,000 का पकड़ाया गया। आप ये जो सोच रहे थे कि आप 20,000 रुपए से डाइन आउट करने के लिए जाएंगे, अभी आपकी लाइफ 5,000 रुपए से वर्स ऑफ हो गई, सही है। इसका मतलब ये है कि आपकी नॉमिनल वेज तो बढ़ी है, लेकिन रियल वेज आपकी कम हो गई है, सही है। नॉमिनल वेज तो आपकी बढ़ी है, लेकिन आपकी रियल वेज कम हो गई। अच्छा, फोन आपने बेगम को पहले ही कर दिया था, ये काम गलत है, ये काम आपने बहुत गलत है। अब एक ऑप्शन आपके पास ये है कि घर मत जाइए, जहन्नुम है वो ज्यादा बेहतर जगह है घर जाना, क्योंकि वो जहन्नुम का वो आखिरी दर्जा होगा जब मुनाफिकीन को डाला जाएगा। तो मेरा ख्याल है कि अगर आप बाहर रहेंगे तो रिलेटिवली आप फायदे रहेंगे।
वो सिर्फ मैरिट्स के लिए या बैचलर्स है उनके लिए भी है?
बैचलर हो गया
सर, मैं तो बैचलर हूं, आई एम स्टिल अ बैचलर।
अच्छा, पैदाइशी बैचलर है। Okay. So, what I am trying to explain is that if it is nominal thing, so the inflation has not been adjusted, right? So आपकी रियल सैलरी नहीं बढ़ी है, आपकी नॉमिनल सैलरी बढ़ी है। तो अब आपको नॉमिनल और रियल का फर्क समझ में आ रहा है? Okay. So what I am trying to say that T-bills are, in terms of quantity, are risk free, that you will constantly be entitled in 8% return over your investment, but still there is a fear of hyper inflation. But we are muting the inflation for a while. So in a default sense, you can consider that T-bills are risk free. ठीक है? Okay. Then we have HT. And you can see that it is positively correlated. Look at this slide. It is positively correlated with the state of the economy. When the economy was at recession, the HT was giving you negative 22% return, and as the economy is prospering and flourishing or growing or moving or performing better and better and better, so you can see the returns of the HT are improving. That is from negative 22 to negative 2, and then 20, and then 35, and then 50. Similarly, so we can say that with respect to the state of the economy, the return of HT are directly proportional. It is exactly behaving in the same pattern as the economy is moving forward. On the other hand, if you look at the call, another investment alternative, so you can see it is negatively correlated. Yes. HT is the name of one security, one investment. You can write A, B, C, D, right? On the other hand, the call is another type of security. If you are going to invest in coal, so you will see a negative correlation with the state of the economy. At the state of the economy, the coal is performing extraordinarily good. And as it is, the economy is moving towards boom, you can see the returns of the coal is declining. So that means, concludingly, you can say that HT is positively correlated with the state of the economy and coal is negatively correlated with the state of the economy. And when it comes to USR, another type of the security. So recession, at recession, the USR is entitling you a 10% return over your investment, and as it is going down, going up, or economy is prospering, you can see that the coal is giving you a negative return. That means with respect to these two coordinates, we can say that it is negatively correlated. But as you move forward and moving towards average, now its return is positive, and at above average it is increasing, but at boom it is decreasing. So that means there is a very haphazard return the USR is giving, and one can say that it is independent from the state of the economy. The T-bill was not independent. It was not depending upon the economy, but there was a constant return. But there is a fluctuation in USR, but that fluctuation cannot be predicted by the state of the economy. Right? So you can say there is no correlation. One thing is independent, other is no correlation. So T-bill has no correlation, whereas USR has the USR is independent from the state of the economy, and it is behaving indifferently. Whereas the MT is again behaving in the same pattern as HT. At recession, it is giving you negative 13% return, and as the economy is moving towards below average and above average and boom, its returns are improving. Clear? Now MP is symbolizing the entire market portfolio. MP stands for market portfolio, right? So that is why the market will exactly behave on average as the economy is moving forward or backward. But rest of the shares or rest of the securities like HT, coal, USR and T-bills are single securities, and they are behaving indifferently with respect to the market. HT is behaving positively, coal is behaving negatively, USR has no correlation, and T-bill, USR is independent and T-bills has no correlation. Clear? Is there any confusion in this chart? No. G? USR? No, it stands for nothing. HT, coal and USR are three different stock securities. You can call it Lucky Cement, Nishad Textiles and Anglo. Right? It could be any. It could be any. Right? These are the securities, investment alternatives. Right?
सर ये कोल वाला जो बनाया पूरा आपने सेशन ये रियल लाइफ में मतलब अभी जिस तरह
जबरदस्त बेहतरीन,
क्योंकि ये
मेरी मेहनत वसूल हो गई। इस सवाल से कम एक बच्चा तो समझ रहा है कि मैं क्या समझा रहा हूँ। एक तो गारंटीड हो गई। वे कहते हैं रियल लाइफ सिनेरियो के अंदर इस बात को सुनिएगा। रियल लाइफ सिनेरियो में ऐसा कहाँ होता है कि रिसेशन पर बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा हूँ कोई स्टॉक, तो पहले तो मैं एक दो स्टॉक की एग्जांपल दे दूँ, सही है, और उसके बाद फिर मैं आपको रियल लाइफ सिनेरियो बताऊँ। कोविड के अंदर सर सूरत हाल ये थी कि तमाम कंपनीज के स्टॉक्स नीचे जा रहे थे। क्यों? क्योंकि आउटपुट स्लो हो गई थी, सेल्स टर्नओवर कम हो गया था। कि व्हाट अबाउट द सैनिटाइजर्स एंड मास्क? एक कैटास्ट्रोफिक कंडीशन के अंदर भी दे वर परफॉर्मिंग वेरी वेल। व्हाट अबाउट द आईटी सेक्टर? आई ओन अ सॉफ्टवेयर हाउस एज वेल। तो हमारे तो बड़े मजे लगे सर, हमारे तो बड़े मजे लगे। पूरी दुनिया, पूरा पाकिस्तानी दुआ कर रहा होता है कि डॉलर नीचे आ जाए। मैं ये दुआ कर रहा होता हूँ कि डॉलर और पाउंड्स ऊपर जाए। क्यों? क्योंकि हमारी पेमेंट सारी डॉलर से पाउंड्स में आती है। डॉलर ऊपर जाता है, मैं बाहर से तो देता हूँ, लेकिन अंदर से मुझे खुशी होती है। समझ रहे आप? तो ये तो मैंने आपको एग्जाम्पल दे दी छोटी सी आसान सी कोविड के हवाले से, लेकिन ओवरऑल आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है। और वो सही है कि देखिए इतना हार्श बिहेवियर नहीं होता इक्विटी मार्केट के अंदर। फाइंडिंग अ नेगेटिव सिक्योरिटी व्हिच इज बिहेविंग कंप्लीटली ऑपोजिट टू द इकोनॉमी और कंप्लीटली ऑपोजिट टू द मार्केट, दैट इज नेक्स्ट टू इम्पॉसिबल। सही है? थोड़ा सा हम आगे जाएंगे तो आपकी इस सवाल का बहुत खुलासे से जवाब मिलने वाला है। लेकिन फिलहाल जैसे मैं आपको एग्जांपल दे रहा था कि 50% of your investment invested in HT अच्छा, अगर आप इंडिविजुअली किसी एक स्टॉक को देखें, फर्स्ट कर लीजिए कॉल को देखें, तो आप स्टैंड अलोन है। स्टैंड अलोन ये है कि रिटर्न्स फ्लक्चुएट कर रहे हैं, तो जो रिस्क कॉल के साथ अटैच है वो आपके साथ एसोसिएट हो गया। कॉल ऊपर जाएगा आपको रिटर्न ज्यादा मिलेगा, कॉल नीचे जाएगा आपको रिटर्न कम मिलेगा। तो रिटर्न कांस्टेंट नहीं है, तो रिस्क इन्वॉल्व है, और ये जो रिस्क है वो स्टैंड अलोन रिस्क है, क्योंकि आप सिर्फ कॉल के साथ या एचटी के साथ या यूएसआर के साथ चिपके हुए। लेकिन अगर मैंने पहला सेट एचटी उठाया है, तो अब मुझे दूसरा सेट कॉल उठाना चाहिए। अब मुझे ये देखना चाहिए कि सेट डालिए, चाहे सराबा ही क्यों ना हो, चाहे वो पूरा सेट सराबा क्यों ना हो, लेकिन अगर मुझे ये श्योर हो कि अगर मैं केले के साथ एक सराबा सेब रखूंगा तो वो केले को महफूज रखेगा, तो फिर मुझे सराबा सेब खरीदना चाहिए। मुझे खाना नहीं है सर, मुझे उसके साथ रखना, ठीक है। तो इस वक्त हेस्टी के लिए आइडियल सिचुएशन ये है कि अगर मैं अपना पोर्टफोलियो बना रहा हूं तो हेस्टी के साथ कॉल का कॉम्बिनेशन बनाओ, ताकि अगर रिसेशन के अंदर हेस्टी मुझे नेगेटिव 22% रिटर्न दे रहा है और कॉल मुझे 28% रिटर्न दे रहा है, तो मेरा नेट रिटर्न 6% हो गया, अमन हो या जंग सानू की। और जब बूम के अंदर हेस्टी मुझे 50% रिटर्न दे रहा है, तो कॉल मुझे नेगेटिव 20% रिटर्न दे रहा है, तो ओवरऑल मुझे 30% रिटर्न मिल रहा है। ना मैं हेस्टी के साथ सिंसियर हूं, इस बात को याद रखिएगा, ना मैं कोल के साथ सिंसियर हूं, ना लकी सीमेंट मेरे फुप्पी की कंपनी है, ना निशाद टेक्सटाइल मेरे खालू की कंपनी है, और ना ही मुझे उनसे कोई हमदर्दी है, बाहर में जैसा है। मेरा मकसद है अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट को सिक्योर और ग्रो करना, तो ये बात ध्यान में रखिएगा, ठीक है। अब आपने इसका स्नैप ले लिया, अब हम इसका वन बाय वन, पहले हम स्टैंड अलोन पे काम करेंगे। हम स्टैंड अलोन पर सिंगल सिक्योरिटी का रिटर्न मालूम करेंगे, एक्सपेक्टेड सिंगल सिक्योरिटी का हम रिस्क मालूम करेंगे, उसकी कोएफिशिएंट ऑफ वेरिएशन मालूम करेंगे, फिर हम पोर्टफोलियो पे जाएंगे। तो जरा इत्मीनान से समझिएगा। Now, what is T-bill return independent of the economy, as I told you? So, do T-bills promise a completely risk-free return? So, T-bills will return the promised 8% regardless of the state of the economy. No, T-bills do not provide a risk-free return as they are still exposed to inflation. Although very little unexpected inflation is likely to occur over such a short period of time. एक stable economy के अंदर यूजुअली जो इन्फ्लेशन जर्क्स होते हैं वो इतने ज्यादा सीवियर नहीं होते। इस वजह से इन डिफॉल्ट सेंस हम T-bills को रिस्क फ्री कंसीडर करते हैं, ठीक है। Now, how do the returns of HT and coal behave in relation to the market? So, as HT moves with the economy and has a positive correlation, and this is typical, and coal is counter-cycle with the economy and has a negative correlation, this is unusual, as he told. And I am endorsing it, that finding a negative correlated security is not an easy task, and it is next to impossible, which I will explain you a little later. Now, if you want to calculate the expected return of HT, so look at the slide, minus 22 into 0.1, plus minus 2 into 0.2, plus 20 into 0.4, plus 35 into 0.2, plus 50 into 0.1. So calculating the expected return, right? Calculating the expected return of HT, there is a Jina gap, this shows the expected. This shows expected. The formula is sigma Ri Pi, where R stands for the return at each state of the economy and P stands for the probability. And when I stands for individual state. So that means if I want to calculate out the expected return or average return or standard return or estimated return of HT, so the formula is sigma Ri Pi, which shows minus 22 into 0.1 plus minus 2 multiplied by 0.2 plus 20 into 0.4 plus 35 into 0.2 and lastly plus 50 into 0.1. So we are going to calculate that, right? You will get the standard return or expected return or estimated return, right? Or required return. I will distinguish all these terms, but currently I am telling you the same term for everything. Okay. Okay. Now you can denote the return by K or you can denote the return by R. Basically, there is a problem that if we are calculating the correlation coefficient, so we used to denote the correlation coefficient by R. That is why, in order to symbolize the return, in most books, usually it is denoted by K. Right? But if you have planned that you will denote correlation coefficient by rho, the Greek letter, then it is good to symbolize the return by R. So the choice is yours. समझ में आ गई बात क्या कह रहा हूँ? मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि रिटर्न को आप K से डिनोट कर सकते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर आप रिटर्न को K से डिनोट करेंगे तो फिर कोरिलेशन कोएफिशिएंट को आप R से डिनोट करेंगे. लेकिन अगर आप रिटर्न को R से डिनोट करने में बसद हैं तो फिर कोरिलेशन कोएफिशिएंट के लिए जो ग्रीक अल्फाबेट है रॉ उससे डिनोट करना है. बहरहाल फार्मूला देख लीजिए -22 into 0.1 plus -2 into 0.2 plus 20 into 0.4 plus 35 into 0.2 plus 50 into 0.1. क्या हो रहा है? हो ये रहा है कि I am calculating the sum product of all the state of the economy, the return and its probability. So it is the sum product of the return and probability. Is that clear? So 17.4 आ गया. यानी कि 10% इम्कानात हैं कि -22% रिटर्न हो, 20% इम्कानात हैं कि 2% रिटर्न मिले, -2%, 40% इम्कानात हैं कि इकोनॉमी 20% एचटी में आपको 20% रिटर्न मिले, 20% इम्कानात हैं कि अबव एवरेज इकोनॉमी परफॉर्म करे और अगर अबव एवरेज करती है तो 35% रिटर्न मिलेगा और 10% इम्कानात हैं कि इकोनॉमी बूम पे चली जाए और उसके इम्कानात 50%, उसके नतीजे में रिटर्न मिलने रिटर्न आपको 50% मिलेगा. इसी तरीके से मैंने बाकी तमाम सिक्योरिटीज के भी रिटर्न्स मालूम कर दिए. एचटी का एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न क्या आएगा? एचटी का एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न क्या आएगा? 17.4. और टी बिल्स का एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न क्या आएगा?
8%.
8. Because 8 into 0.1 plus 8 into 0.2 plus 8 into 0.4 plus 8 into 0.2 plus 8 into 0.1, you will get 8%. Right? Then 28 into 0.1, 14.7 into 0.2 and so on and so forth. And you will get the expected return using the same formula and here are the results. Why it is called expected? Because we are using probability. So whenever we need, we have probability, so whatever outcome we will get, that would be expected because this is based on the probability. Clear? So looking at this situation, HT, the market, USR, T-bills and coal, you can see the expected return. So coal is the pathetic security individually because it is giving you the least possible return. Whereas HT seems the most exciting security because it is giving you 17.4% return. So I guess we should go with HT. But wait. These are only the returns. Whatever the risk associated with them, we haven't calculated that. So it is too early to take the decision. It is too early to take the decision. If you are looking for any reward, you have to estimate the risk associated with that reward. Are you getting my point? So the second thing, before going to take any decision that in which individual security you should go with, you should calculate the risk. And as I told you that in order to calculate the risk, we have another statistical technique and that is called standard deviation. Right? How much it is deviated from the standard? Are you getting it? So, the formula to calculate the standard deviation, right, of HT, expected standard deviation of HT is sigma This is the formula to calculate the expected standard deviation, sorry. Now, do you have any idea how this formula has been developed or established or tried? Standard deviation आपने statistics में पढ़ा होगा, सही ना? X minus mean whole square. So this is mean basically. So X minus mean whole square into its weight or probability. If the weights are not given, then you will divide by n or n minus 1 depending upon the you have a population data or sample data. I do not want to teach you stats right now. But the formula has developed in a very simplistic manner. And I don't have time right now to explain behind the logic of this formula. Okay. So pay attention here. If I am interested to calculate out that how much risk involved with HT, so it is in a very simple way, that is minus 22 minus 17.4 whole square multiplied by probability 0.1, right? Then plus minus 2 minus 17.4 whole square multiplied by 0.2. Then plus 20 minus 17.4 whole square multiplied by 0.4. Then 35 minus 17.4 whole square multiplied by 0.2. And lastly 50 minus 17.4 whole square multiplied by 0.1. And if you are going to do the maths, you can directly calculate in the spreadsheet, you can directly calculate in the financial calculator or in the scientific calculator as well. That I will teach you how to do that. But currently, the mathematical explanation I have shown on the board. So you will get the answer. And the answer would be, so this is the formula. And the answer would be, I have deliberately calculated the standard deviation of T-bills. Reason because there will be no fluctuation and the answer of the standard deviation of T-bill would be 0 because 8 minus 8 whole square into 0.1 plus 8 minus 8 whole square multiplied by 0.2 and so on. You will get 0 answer because 8 minus 8 whole square is 0. 0 multiplied by 0.1 is 0 and square root of 0 is 0. Right? But if you are going to calculate the standard deviation of HT or coal or USR and market, you will see the risk associated with these. So not only I have taken the negative, then the expected like negative 22 and 17.4, but I have also taken the 35 minus 74 and 50 minus 17.4. So now you got the point that in order to quantify the risk, not only you will calculate the low or negative deviations, but you will also calculate the high or positive deviations. Now I am showing you on the graph that the HT is giving you 17.4% return, right? And the deviation is 20%. What do I mean by 20%? Look, it is the standard deviation is 20%. So इसका मतलब HT जो है या तो 17.4% रिटर्न देगा और ज्यादा वो डेविएट कर सकता है तो 17.4 minus 20 करें 17.4 minus 20 करें तो minus 2.6 so या तो वो minus 2.6 तक जा सकता है और 17.4 plus 20 करें तो वो 37.4 तक जा सकता है। अब समझ में आ रही है बात? यूएसआर जो है वो उसका स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन जो है वो 18.8 है तो वो 13.8 से 18.8 यानी कि तकरीबन 32.6 तक जा सकता है या वो 13.8 से -5 तक जा सकता है। समझ में नहीं बात? अब स्प्रेड समझ में आ रहा है आपको? अच्छा, टी-बिल की लाइन कैसी है? बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट, कोई नॉर्मल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नहीं बन रही है, इस वजह से कोई रिस्क ही नहीं है, 8% रिटर्न, ना दाएं ना बाएं। लेकिन बाकी तमाम सिक्योरिटीज जो हैं उसका दायां भी है और उसका बायां भी है, क्योंकि वो डेविएट कर रहे हैं अपने स्टैंडर्ड से, अपने एवरेज से। यहाँ पे बात समझ में आ गई। अब कौन सी सिक्योरिटी में जाना चाहिए? अब रैशनैलिटी जो बिफोर गोइंग टू ब्रेक मार्कोविट्स की जो हमने बताई, तो ये बताई कि इफ द रिटर्न ऑफ बोथ द सिक्योरिटी आर सेम, so choose the lower risk security. If the risk of both the security are same, choose the higher return security. But here the returns of both the security and the risk involved of both the securities are different. So how do we know which security is more feasible to invest in? Are you getting my point? So let me show you on the graph. Look here. Okay. So after calculating the expected return of all the 5 investment alternative and after calculating all the risk and standard deviation of all the given 5 investment alternative, now you can compare the risk and return. Like in T-bill, 8% return with 0% risk, in HT 17.4% return with 20% risk. So which security you would prefer to buy? Yes, you. Yes, you. Market. Leave the market. Reason because market is symbolizing the portfolio of all the securities. So that is why if we are going to pick one security, so we should not go with market. We should choose any of the 4.
T-bill. In that case, T-bill.
Some sound HT and some sound T-bills. So if you are a widow, अगर आप बेवा हैं,
वो T-bill के जैसा है।
तो you have chosen a very right security. नहीं, पहले आप सुनो। अगर तो आप बेवा हैं, तो टी-बिल का इंतखाब ने बिल्कुल सही किया है। क्यों? क्योंकि आप कोई रिस्क नहीं लेना चाहती हैं, आपका शौहर इस जाने पानी से रुखसत कर दिया है, इस वजह से खामोशी के साथ टी-बिल में इन्वेस्ट करें और 8% रिटर्न से अपना बिजनेस चलाता है। लेकिन अगर आप बेवा नहीं हैं और आप इन्वेस्टर हैं, ये बात हम पहले ही कर चुके हैं, nobody likes risk, right? But the lust and greed of high return will encourage investors to take risk, right? So 17.4 return with 20% risk or 13.8 return with 18.8% risk. So हमें यहाँ पर educated guess नहीं करना है, बल्कि we have a third statistical tool through which we can take the decision, and that is called coefficient of variance. We just divide 20 risk over return. That 20% risk is 17.4% return, sir. 20 divided by 17.4.
1.149.
1.149, rounded off to 1.15. And what about 18.8 divided by 13.8?
1.36.
1.36. So I can easily say that for getting 1% additional return in HT, I need to take 1.15% risk. For 1% return in HT, I need to take 1.15% risk. But in USR, for 1% return, I need to take 1.36% risk. So relatively, HT is a better option with respect to coefficient of variation. So coefficient of variation is risk over return. That is the third statistical tool we are using. First, we have used the expected return. That was one of the statistical tools. Then we use standard deviation to measure the risk, and then coefficient of variation, that is risk over return. What this standardized measure tells us? It tells us that what is the risk per unit of return. So if you divide HT by core, HT or core or USR or market risk with the returns, you will get that the coefficient of variation of T-bill is obviously 0. But in HT it is 1.149, in coal it is 7.882, in USR it is 1.362. Right? So lower the coefficient of variation, that means it is a better opportunity. Why? Because for 1% return in HT, we need to take 1.149% risk. For 1% return in coal, we have to take 7.882% risk. So the quantum of risk is far greater to earn 1% additional return. Are you getting my point? So coal has the highest degree of risk per unit of return, and despite having the highest standard deviation of return, has a relatively average CV. Right? Are you getting my point? So if you are still standing alone or planning to stand alone, so you should go with HT, because for 1% return you have to take relatively lower risk, that is 1.149% risk, than the rest of the coal in USR. Individually, if you look at the coal, you will notice that this is a pathetic security because its return is low relatively and its risk is very high, and even CV is 7.882. That is for 1% return, we need to take 7.882% risk. Are you getting my point or not? So illustrating the coefficient of variation is a measure of relative risk. Now you can see that the standard deviation of A and the standard deviation of B both are equal. But the return of A seems to be 5% and return of B seems to be 15%. So that means though the risk is equal, but the return of B is relatively higher than A, so the CV of B will be lower than CV of A. Are you getting my point? So A is riskier because of the large probability of losses. In other words, the same amount of risk as measured by standard deviation for less return. So here the return is 15 and the risk is same. That is, let's say 20 or let's say 15. So 15 upon 15 is 1, and here 15 upon 5, that is 3. So obviously the coefficient of variation of A is far greater than the coefficient of variation of B. Now the risk aversion. As I told you earlier that investors dislike risk, but simultaneously they require higher risk, higher returns. So the high return will encourage them to keep riskier securities, right? Now what is risk premium? As in my first class, I had explained you that there are 3 components of the required rate of return. Someone told 15%, someone told 17 or 18%, right? So I broken down that 15 or 18% into 3 different components. One is the time value of money or the discount rate, which is illustrated by the State Bank of Pakistan in its monetary policy. The second thing is the inflationary surge, and the third thing is the risk premium. So definitely, after compensating the time value of money and the inflationary surge, you will definitely try to pool your investment in those areas where you will get the higher return, for the sake to compensate the depreciation or decline in the purchasing power of money, the jerk of inflation. Apart from that, you also want to grow your money. So that is why you will always try to invest somewhere where you will get some risk premium. So if you are, as I told you, widow, and you do not want to take risk, so you will be entitled 8% return. Cool. But you know that the risk is associated with the HT, and still you are opting to invest in HT, right? That means you are taking a riskier security and leaving the risk-free security. So what was the return of HT? 17.4. And what was the return of T-bills? 8%. What is the difference between 17.4 and 8? 9.4. So this 9.4% is your risk premium. This 9.4% in market, there is a risk-free security available, which will entitle you 8% return. But still you are preferring to invest in HT, which is a riskier security than T-bills. So you have taken the risk at a risk premium of 9.4% additionally. Are you getting my point? So risk premium, yeah. The risk premium is the difference. What is risk premium? The difference between the return on a risky asset and the less risky asset. If you are preferring to buy coal, because its risk is relatively low. So time हो गया?
इसलिए